Yep, that's my voice. That's the thing. I'm a 28-year-old man. The reason I look and sound like this is because I wasn't always a 28-year-old man. Not just because I wasn't always 28, but I also kind of wasn't a man. When I was little, I was a little girl, and my parents knew something was up because every time they wanted to take a family picture, I made her pay me $5 to wear a dress. I was 5. By the time I was 7, I was like, I should ask for more money. By the time I was 12, I was making anywhere from $25 to $50 a picture. And I was so excited about holidays. And by the time I was 14, that's when I realized I was a lesbian. I remember this. I was 14, sitting in chemistry class, and a girl was touching my hair. And I remember feeling chills and thinking, this is so wrong. I can't like this. So I thought about it for a long time, which at 14 is a week. And I went home and I was sitting in my room and I just realized I'm a lesbian, and I started crying. And I remember thinking, I have to get up and tell my parents. Now here's the thing about my parents. My parents are very understanding people. When I was very little, too little to understand the words, they used to say, we don't care if you're gay, if you're dating a black person, or if you're a transvestite. Now the only reason they used those words is because they didn't know what else to say, which is okay because we didn't know what they were talking about. But the point was, they always told us they were gonna love us. So I got up, tears streaming down my cheeks, and I walked into the living room and I said, Mom and Dad, I'm a lesbian. And my mom said, but you're pretty. You don't have to be a lesbian. Exactly. And I was like, oh, but I want to. And they said, well, we'll love you no matter what. And I took that and I ran, and at 14 years old, I started having sex with every girl I could get my hands on. I mean, all of them. None of them were safe. I mean, I did things that are on your bucket list. 2 sisters one night. My teacher's daughter. From 14 to 21, I had sex with a minimum of 100 girls. Yeah. I got a fake ID at age 14, and I used to go to a gay club up in Houston, and I'd walk in a baggy men's business shirt, a loose-fitting tie, bright pink skinny jeans, and when I walked in, I was hot shit young eye candy. I went on with that for about, from 14 until I was 20, and at 20, I had started to realize that there was something else up. I wasn't just a lesbian, I was struggling with who I was. And I remember watching a program, and I don't remember what the program was, but for the first time ever, there was a trans man on it. Because I knew there was something up with my gender, but the only thing around then was Jerry Springer. And I was like, I think I'm different, but I'm pretty sure I'm not that. So I saw an episode of something with a trans man on it, and I was like, holy shit, this is it. I'm transgendered. I'm a man. I'm a straight man. I'm a straight white man. This is amazing. It was still very hard. But I called my parents and I said, Mom and Dad, I need to transition. It's something that I need in my life. And they said, well, then we support you. Well, I knew I had been struggling with this for so long that I couldn't wait, and back then there was a 2-year waiting period where you had to go to a therapist for 2 years to get your testosterone. And I couldn't wait. So I found a clinic in New York that sped me through the process. I went to 3 meetings in one day, a social worker, blood work, and a physical. 2 weeks later, I got to take my first shot of testosterone at 21 years old. I remember being so scared and taking the needle and putting it in my leg, and immediately a calm coming over my body where I knew everything was gonna be okay. And that lasted for 2 weeks until I hit my second puberty. If you think the first one's fun, give it another go. For the first time in 21 years, do you remember when you had your first crush, the strongest one, where you got butterflies in your stomach, or you had dreams? That happened to me for the first time in 21 years for a man. Yeah. At the time, I didn't know this could happen, but now there are rough statistics that say if you start hormones, estrogen or testosterone, there's a 50% chance you will change sexualities. So now I was terrified. And I did what every other transgendered person who just changed gender and sexuality does. I dropped out of college and moved to Texas and started selling knives in malls. I got in with a company that would move me to a different city every 2 months. I did this because I was running away from this thing that I now had to deal with, and I thought new location, no issue. Well, I got there and now I was isolated. I had no transgendered friends. I didn't know anybody in the city, and all I thought was, I have to lose my virginity. Because I had, while having sex with hundreds of girls, I had always been the sex-er and never the sex-e, if you get my drift. I had never lost my girl virginity. And I decided I needed to do this, so what I decided I was gonna do is I went to the only place where I knew there was a place for trans people. I put a post on Craigslist. And I wrote, trans guy here, just wanna have a beer. Which meant, come have sex with me for the first time ever. I got a great response. I got a lot of shitty responses. But I got one amazing one from a very charming man. And I had a bunch of rules back then. If I met someone on Craigslist, which I had met people on Craigslist, but never for this. I had a rule. 1, don't ever invite them to your house. Always meet them in a public place first. Don't get drunk. I broke all those rules. He came to the door, and when I opened the door, I remember looking at him and thinking, you're the most handsome man I've ever seen. And then he opened his mouth. And he was Australian. Jackpot! Why are you here? So I invited him in, and the minute he was a dreamboat, I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna get over these nerves, so I'm gonna get shit-faced drunk. And that's what I did. I had 2 bottles of wine. He had a half a glass. I had the rest. 120-pound mini-me drank 2 bottles of wine throughout this night. He sat on the couch. As I started to get drunk, I then thought, okay, all I could think was I gotta take this guy's virginity. I'm sorry, I've gotta take my virginity. Hopefully he's not a virgin. This is bad. So, I scooch next to him on the couch, I get up the courage, and I kiss him. Once. And then I go, have sex with me. This isn't making out. I just kissed him once and said, have sex with me. That's what I did. And so he turned to me and he said, do you have a condom? And I was like, no. First of all, I've never had to use one. Second of all, the guy should always have the condom. I don't know your size. Are there even sizes in condoms? If there are they by numbers or letters? I don't know, the point is you should have one. But I remembered I had a Pride bag, which if you've never been to Pride, when you leave, you end up with a giant baggie of condoms and lube that they threw from the floats. So I was like, I've got to have a condom in there. So I take out this bag, I open it up, and there are no condoms because at the time, I didn't think I'd ever need them. But I open it up and I find a thing that's called a female condom. You know what this is? Because I didn't. So I grabbed him, so desperate to lose my virginity. I grabbed him and I run into the room and I go, here, use these. And he goes, what are these? I said, I don't know, it says condom on it. But it's in like a big bag, so he's like, I don't think this is gonna work. And I was like, try it! I'm gonna lose my virginity! And so we open it up, and what a female condom is, I know now. It's supposed to go inside the girl. So I put it on him. So it just looked like a sad bag. Not like a grocery bag, like when you check out, like the produce bag you put the cucumbers in. And the next thing I remember is waking up on the couch, somewhere between sad bag and waking up on the couch, I blacked out. Yep. I woke up the next morning, I looked, I checked, I'm not sore. I was covered in a blanket, my wallet was set neatly on the table, and he had closed the door behind him. And I sat there in all of my shame, and minutes later I got a text that said, that was a lot of fun, let's do it again sometime. So I texted back, address, question mark? Like a classy lady. And without a shower, I got dressed and drove to his house. In full-on sobriety, I drove to his house. When he opened the door, I went into his room and I said, listen, again, I've never done this before. I didn't know this was gonna happen, but I want you to take my virginity. And he said yes. Super sweet. Now, I wish I could say that I could tell you what words I told him to use, but I had nothing in my mind but barreling through, if I lose my virginity, everything's gonna be okay. So he proceeded to take my virginity. It was gentle, it was amazing, I really enjoyed it, he was very sweet. And after we were done, he rolled over and he looked me in the eyes and he said, well, you're used goods now. He could have said anything, but that's what he said. And I laughed. And I dated that man for 8 years. And that is the story of how I lost my virginity as a girl, as a 21-year-old man. Thank you guys, I'm Jeffrey Gay.